I'm Elex Michaelson. This week, the issue is foreign interference in our elections.
Life doesn't work that way.
The FBI director says that's what should happen.
The FBI director is wrong.
President Trump says he did not collude with Russia in 2016, but he's willing to listen to foreign governments who want to help him out in 2020. The chair of the Congressional Black Caucus, Congresswoman Karen Bass, is here to respond. Is it time to impeach the president? Plus, the issue is homelessness. Is the Democratic Party's approach a failure? Is it time for a radical policy change? Here to talk about that and more, our panel this week, Hasan Piker of the Young Turks and conservative talk show host Larry Elder. The issue is starts right now. And welcome to The Issue Is. I'm Elex Michaelson, and welcome back to Congresswoman Karen Bass. She is the chair of the Congressional Black Caucus. She's a Democrat representing Los Angeles and Culver City. And this weekend, she's going to host a special town hall meeting to discuss the Mueller report. That is free and open to the public. It is on Saturday from 9:30 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. at the Crenshaw United Methodist Church. Congresswoman, good to see you. Welcome back.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on.
So this week we hear these comments from President Trump that say that he's open to listening to a foreign government if they've got dirt on one of his opponents. The question that results from that is it time to impeach the president?
Well, in regard to his comments, why should we be surprised? He certainly has rejected the idea that the Russians did anything in our election. So do I think it's time to impeach? I don't. Would I like to see Trump removed immediately? Absolutely. If you recall, I was concerned about him the year before the election in terms of his capacity to be the president. We need to go through a process. We're at the beginning stages of that process, and I think it needs to play out.
Some of your colleagues say we're not at the beginning stages of this process. We've gone through a Mueller report. We've gone through years of investigations. We have findings that show potential obstruction of justice. Isn't it time to at least move forward with an impeachment inquiry? What do you say?
So one of the reasons why I know everybody thinks that is because the investigation has gone on for a long time, meaning the Mueller report. Congress for 2 years did absolutely nothing when Republicans were in charge. Democrats have only been in charge for 6 months, and frankly, we've only been at full speed for 3 months. We have to see whether or not they are going to comply. We need the people to come forward. We need Mueller to come. We need McCann to come. We are going to have Hope Hicks come this week. And so we need to go through the process of oversight and investigation. Only been at it 3 months.
I mean, what would you need to see to meet that impeachment threshold?
Well, if you want to ask me whether I think the Mueller report shows that he obstructed justice, absolutely. There's 10 clear examples of it. It would have been made so much easier if Mueller would have said, you know, I don't think I can recommend that he violated the law because of policy, but I do think that he did. It would have made it much easier for us. So to me, we need to follow the process a little more. If you look back at Nixon, if you look back at Clinton, it took a year, 2 years. I don't think it should take that long, but I think it would be inappropriate to call for impeachment 3 months after we've begun a process.
So perhaps the most important person to weigh in on this is the Speaker of the House,
That's
Nancy
right.
Pelosi. She reacted to the president's comments this week about that foreign interference. Here's what she had to say.
And what the president said last night shows clearly, once again, over and over again, that he does not know the difference between right and wrong.
But she still has not said anything in terms of moving forward on impeachment. This seems to be her position,
right,
which is that politically, if you go forward with impeachment in the House, it'll probably be a party line vote. The president's not going to get convicted in the Senate because Republicans aren't going to vote for him.
Exactly.
And so you're handing him a political win. He'll say, I'm acquitted.
But
Look at this. Do you agree with that?
Well, it's really not. I don't believe it reduces itself completely down to politics. Again, we have several different committees that are involved in oversight and investigation. If we are going to impeach him, we need to have all of the information. The Mueller report, remember, looked at just one issue alone. We need to look at conflict of interest. We need to look at corruption. We need to look at emoluments. This man, in my opinion, has been running a criminal enterprise, but it does not make sense for us to rush and to do something that we know is not going to result in him being removed. I know if you did a survey of my district, people want to see this man gone. Why would we take people down a process when we know that he's not going to leave? If you remember at the beginning of Nixon's, scandal with Watergate, he had very high poll numbers. The Republicans in no way were going to impeach him. But when they saw the evidence, then they changed. And I do think if we did it today, there would be no conviction in the Senate. But who knows, as we go through this process, maybe my Republican colleagues will grow a spine and realize that this man needs to go. They know he needs to go, but they have decided to essentially compromise because they get tax cuts, they get deregulation, and they get the courts.
Do you have any indication that Republicans are willing to vote to remove the president?
No, just one so far, but let us play it out.
Well, let's talk about another big issue, which is that of homelessness, which unfortunately the numbers show is getting worse in LA County and in so many different counties around California. California voters in Los Angeles passed something called Measure HHH to help fix this. And I want to put up a quote on the screen from Ron Galprin, who is the LA City Controller. This is what he said. It has been 2.5 years since LA voters approved Measure HHH to spend $1.2 billion to create 10,000 supportive housing units. While nobody expected the units to be built overnight, at this moment, not one HHH project has been completed, and the average total development cost per unit is nearly $520,000.
Well, you know what? I'm surprised he said that because it's my understanding that some of the housing has been completed. But let me just raise two things about homelessness that we really need to take a look at. Number one, people are constantly being thrown into homelessness. As a matter of fact, the fastest growing sector are senior citizens because the cost of living here and the cost of housing is so high. So even if they built 10,000, we probably have had 10,000 additional people become homeless. But the other thing that has happened, the second that ballot initiative passed in many neighborhoods around the city, the first thing they said was, you try to build housing here and we're going to sue. And so I think there's a lot of factors. I think the local elected officials are working very hard at it, but we need to look at these two other factors. People need to realize that this is the community's problem. We all need to share in it. And also we need to stop people from continuing to being driven into homelessness.
I mean, California is run by Democrats at every level.
Yes.
State, locally, Is this a failure of Democratic policy? Because Democrats keep asking for more money to fix homelessness, and the problem just keeps getting worse.
Well, I don't think it's a failure of Democrats. Again, I think it's a complex issue. There's our responsibility on the federal end, too. We need to do more to provide resources to California. We need to provide Section 8 vouchers. There's a lot of things that need to happen.
But is the issue resources, or is the issue too much regulation?
Oh, no, I don't think it's too much regulation. It is resources. Now, one thing that I want to find out is when the controller said that each unit costs $200,000. That's crazy. So we certainly need to do something about that. But we have to deal with NIMBYism in our city, too. You can't complain about the tents and say, I don't want them built anywhere near me. So take your choice. Tents or be more neighborly and welcome people in your neighborhoods.
And NIMBYism meaning not in my backyard.
Not in my backyard.
So
That's
let's talk about one of the few issues on the federal level that people actually agree on, which is foster care, right?
Yes,
You've been doing
that's
some
right.
important work in bringing together foster children from around the country and pairing them up with members of Congress as well.
See, there are bipartisan issues that we work on. They just don't get a lot of attention. And improving and transforming the nation's child welfare system, which is the driver, by the way, to the criminal justice system, is a bipartisan issue. So a week ago, we had 100 foster youth from around the nation, from 100 different congressional districts. We had them in Washington, D.C. for an entire week, learning about Washington, the legislative process, and shadowing their member of Congress. Every year that we have done that, right afterwards, we're able to move legislation forward in a bipartisan fashion. So thank you for highlighting it.
All right, we like to have some fun on this show, you know that.
Uh-oh.
So let's do something called personal issues. This is where we put 30 seconds up on the clock and get to know you a little bit better with questions you haven't seen in advance. Okay, so here we go. Favorite LA restaurant?
Favorite LA restaurant? Oh my goodness. Natalie's Thai restaurant.
Favorite conservative?
Favorite conservative? Maybe Kevin McCarthy.
Favorite sports team?
Lakers.
Favorite holiday?
Thanksgiving.
Favorite Disneyland ride?
Oh, gosh. I haven't been to Disneyland in years. The teacups.
One thing you'd bring to a deserted island.
I don't know. Books. Lots of books.
Favorite presidential candidate.
I'm not going to answer
Ask
that
you later.
one.
Favorite Marvin Gaye song.
I heard it through the grapevine.
Heard it through the grapevine, which I think we just happen to have ready.
All right.
That is because something else that got done on a bipartisan way. We named a post office. You and President Trump came together for your love of Marvin Gaye, right?
Yes,
And
exactly.
this weekend there's a Marvin Gaye post office.
That's right.
opening up.
We're going to dedicate the post office to Marvin Gaye. Marvin Gaye was an LA celebrity and community person that all of us loved very much, his work.
And the public is welcome to come out and enjoy that. And maybe they'll see you dance to some Marvin Gaye music,
I
right?
don't know about that. Mueller
No?
report.
Feel a little feel it in the shoulder action?
Yeah,
no?
there you go.
All right, there it is. Congresswoman Karen Bass, thank you so much.
You're
Nice
very
to see
welcome.
you.
Good to see you again.
Up next,
Tim.
our panel is going to weigh in on all the issues we just talked about. Larry Elder, Hasan Piker. Look at them dancing. At least Larry's feeling it. Karen Bass, thank you so much. Back with more of the issue is right after this. Marvin Gaye, Tammy Terrell as well, right?
Yeah, exactly.
The grapevine.
From Southern California to the Bay Area, you're watching The Issue Is.
Senator Elizabeth Warren is moving on up when it comes to California politics. She's now in second place in Berkeley's new poll of California primary voters. Joe Biden is in first at 22%, Warren at 18%, Bernie Sanders now at 17%. Note that Kamala Harris has slipped to fourth place. She's at 13%, even though she's the senator from this state. Welcome back. Two very intelligent fellows with two wildly differing worldviews make up this week's panel. Larry Elder is a one-man hat trick. He's a syndicated radio host, including on AM 870 The Answer, an attorney, an author. His newest book, out in paperback now, is called A Lot Like Me, A Father and Son's Journey to Reconciliation. We're going to have more on that a little bit later in the show. Fun fact, way back in 1996, Larry and fellow conservative Dennis Prager appeared in a short film directed by, of all people, South Park creator Trey Parker, called For Goodness Sake, which humorously addressed race in America. Look at those outfits.
Look at that tie and that mustache.
Yeah,
My
baby.
goodness.
Hasan Piker is the youngest of the Young Turks on the Young Turks Network. Piker's online commentaries have been seen and shared by millions, making him one of the most followed progressives in all of social media. Recently, on the podcast Chapo Trap House, Hasan talked about his experiences on the live streaming website Twitch. He's widely followed there as well. Welcome to you both. Good to have you on The Issue Is.
Thank you for having us.
All right, let's start with the big news of the week, which is President Trump's comments about foreign interference. This is what he said.
Do you want that kind of interference in our elections?
It's not an interference. They have information. I think I'd take it.
What do you think? I mean, was this wrong, what the president said?
It's not the answer I would have given, and there hasn't been a single Republican that has backed that answer. And I was watching Fox and Friends this morning. He's already walked it back, and he said, no, I would go to the FBI. It was an ill-advised thing to have said. The bottom line, though, is there's been a 2-year study to find out whether or not he committed any kind of collusion, and he didn't.
But isn't he basically advertising, even if I didn't collude before, I'm open to collusion now?
I don't think he is. It was an imprecise answer to an imprecise question. I'm sure he's thought about it again, and he'd give a different answer now.
What was imprecise about it, Hasan?
I can't wait 2 years later down the line in the aftermath of the election when we find out that there was foreign interference or something like that. Republicans will turn around and point to this moment in time and go, well, he was just joking, which is what they did with the previous instances of Trump's misspeaking. Look, I'm not a big Russiagate hysteric, but it is without a doubt that Donald Trump is a corrupt person. He is morally reprehensible. He demonstrates his corruption in wildly transparent ways, and the American people seem to just laugh it up and take it in. So I don't know. It doesn't matter. He can say whatever he wants. He literally said that he could kill someone on Fifth Avenue, shoot them, and the American people would still vote for him, and he was right.
He was joking. And look, this is an imprecise speaker. He really is. Obama was a very precise speaker. His three major decisions, in my opinion, were all based upon falsehoods. The Obamacare decision: if you like your doctor, you can keep your doctor. My mother, as she lay dying on her hospital bed in Hawaii, was suffering from having to fight with her insurance carriers. Turned out it wasn't true. The Iran deal was based upon a big lie, that there was a fight between moderate ayatollahs and hardliner ayatollahs, and the architect of that deal, Ben Rhodes, literally bragged to the New York Times that I lied about this. And the other one was when he pulled the troops out of Iraq and then later on blamed it on George W. Bush. Not true. He pulled them out because he wanted to, against the advice of his entire national security team. Now, why aren't people talking about those kinds of things?
Well, because Obama's not the president, because Donald Trump is currently the president. And the fact that you have to reach so far behind and talk about the lies that President Barack Obama told in the White House to justify the lies that Donald Trump is telling currently is kind of shocking to me.
Well,
I mean,
Hassan,
when Barack Obama fails...
I'm happy to explain why I refer to Obama.
Can I finish? When Barack Obama fails on the policy front when it comes to the ACA, which did not go far enough, I agree with you.
Didn't go far enough?
I absolutely criticize Barack Obama for that. I think we do need socialized medicine, Medicare for all. Perhaps could have been more helpful for your mother, and I'm sorry for your loss.
That's a whole nother debate. But let's go to the point that Hasan brought up. He said that the president is morally corrupt.
Right.
How do you respond to that?
And I have to go back to Barack Obama to justify what Donald Trump says. He says it's shocking. What I find shocking is the pass that people like my friend gives people like Obama. The reason I bring up these inconsistencies, the reason I bring up Hillary, for example, in the basement server, she got a pass for that, is to show the double standard, the selective outrage, and the hypocrisy on the part of people that are really angry about Donald Trump that gave Obama a pass for 8 years, fast and furious. He got a pass. He got a pass for the Bergdahl deal. Got a pass. He got a pass on Obamacare. Got a pass for all the misstatements, all the lies he made. But Donald Trump is a big liar. He's evil. It's double standard. It's hypocrisy.
Wait, why do you always point to the double standard when I already admitted that when Barack Obama does something wrong, I openly talk about it? Can you just elaborate on your personal opinion in this instance?
Sure.
Rather than trying to engage in whataboutisms and pointing out double standards? Because don't you think that that's a little disingenuous to go back to double standards when we're talking about Donald Trump, who's the president right now, and you have to draw from so far back, like Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama? These people are not in positions of power.
We're not drawing back to the...
It's not okay. Two wrongs don't make a right, right?
We're not drawing back to the 17th century. We're drawing back to just a few years ago.
Okay.
And I'll just give you one example. Fast and Furious.
But do you think Trump doesn't lie? Do you think Trump is not morally reprehensible?
Fast and Furious, Congress wanted Eric Holder to testify. He didn't show up. They found him in criminal contempt of Congress. 17 Democrats even voted in favor of criminal contempt for him, and no one's talking about that. But
you're saying the Democrats were holding him accountable then?
But when Donald Trump says that I exert executive privilege, oh my God, he's stonewalling. All the stuff that Obama did, he went after reporters.
You just admitted that the Democrats were holding Eric Holder
17
accountable.
did. That's all.
Okay.
What about the rest of them?
How many are holding Trump accountable? For all of the awful things that he's done.
To wrap this up real point.
All the awful things he's done.
To wrap this up real quickly, though, but he brings up the point. If it was wrong when Obama did, is it wrong when Trump does it now? I mean, are they both wrong?
I'm talking about the fact that...
Why can't you say yes? That's really interesting, because I can say yes. Because Obama did awful things, but so is Trump, and Trump is doing even worse things. Why can't you admit that? Why can't conservatives ever admit when Trump is doing something wrong?
There was a 2-year and 2-month investigation, $25 million spent to find collusion, conspiracy, coordination. They didn't find anything.
Once again,
and he punted on obstruction of justice. And
once again, you're talking to a straw man, because I already told you that that's not my personal perspective at all. If you want to have a conversation with a lot of open-minded leftists like myself, we are out there. We're on the internet. We talk about our personal perspective.
If you were open-minded, you wouldn't be saying, "Oh, I don't want to hear about whataboutism. I don't want to hear about what Obama did. I don't want to hear about what Hillary did."
Because two wrongs don't make a right.
Of course you don't, because it makes you look like you're a phony and hypocrite.
I criticize Barack Obama throughout his entire presidency, and I criticize Hillary Clinton as well. I am not a hypocrite. You are afraid.
We're going to talk about another issue now,
which is kidding me?
Which is the
and you're a libertarian?
Which is
you want government to control medicine?
Let's talk about another issue, which is
that's insane.
Which is the issue of the Democratic primary now. This week we found out who are the 20 candidates that are going to be making it up onto the debate stage. This is a list of all 20 of them. By the way, all of them that have come on the issue are on the debate stage. So just candidates, good idea to come on the show. Sadly, for the candidates that are goose eggs, Steve Bullock, Mike Gravel, Wayne Nessum, and Seth Moulton, None of them met the criteria. I know many of our viewers are crying over that.
They will be missed.
Mike Gravel is an entertaining guy.
Where do you guys see the state of the race? Because I think you both might agree on something. Neither of you like Joe Biden.
Well, I'm not a fan of any of them.
Yeah.
Me either, except for Bernie. Maybe
do you like Elizabeth Warren?
Maybe I'll vote for Elizabeth Warren, but it's definitely the second best
So if
option.
Joe Biden got the nomination and is running against President Trump, you would not vote for him?
I don't know. I've honestly considered moving up into the mountains and living an anarcho-primitivist lifestyle if Joe Biden becomes the Democratic nominee. I think Trump has a chance of defeating Joe Biden. But worse than that, even if Joe Biden wins, I think we go back to business as usual politics here in America. And next time around, it's not going to be Donald Trump. It's actually going to be an ideologically minded fascist, not a proto-fascist who kind of succeeded somehow and fooled Americans for long enough to get into a position of power, but an actual terrifying leader.
Oh, my goodness. There was just a poll in Gallup, and they looked at Donald Trump ideologically. 17% believed that he was too conservative. 18% thought George W. Bush was too conservative. 38% think that Donald Trump's views are just right. 36% thought George W.'s views were just right. 39% thought both of them were too conservative. So the people perceive Donald Trump and George W. Bush to be almost mirror images ideologically. But I hear all this stuff about Donald Trump has changed the Republican Party, turned it into a party of cult. It's not true. People perceive them to be ideologically identical.
I agree with you on that. I 100% agree with you. I think and we talked about this outside, Donald Trump is a perfectly sound Republican, but also George W. Bush was a war criminal. So I don't like George W. Bush either.
All right, let's take a break.
War criminal.
Let's take a break. Let's let everybody cool down a little bit.
Remember?
Up next, we're going to talk about another issue that brings people together, the issue of homelessness here in California. A lot to talk about on that. Larry Elder, Hasan Piker, when we come back.
This is one of my best friends.
Really?
The person who's singing the song.
Who's this?
Bryce Vine.
What's he like?
He's awesome. You want to have him on the show? I'll ask him.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
You're not even dancing to his song.
Wait, that's crazy. Did you pick this for me?
Yeah.
Is this my song? Oh my God,
Yeah.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you know that at all or no? You just like...
It isn't quite the California dream for far too many homeless people. The official count shows homelessness way up in many California counties. The question now, what to do about it? Back with our panel, talk show host and author Larry Elder, Hasan Piker of the Young Turks. Larry, let's start with you. I asked this question to Congresswoman Bass earlier. Is this a failure of liberal policies in California?
Yes, because part of the reason for the homelessness crisis is because of the lack of affordability. Leo Haney is an economist from UCLA. He estimates that because of zoning ordinances, NIMBYism, all the rules and regulations that they put on people that want to build housing, housing costs almost 50% higher than it ought to cost. So that is a failure of liberal policies. But the other problem, of course, is that a lot of people who are homeless have mental problems, they have substance abuse problems, and throwing money at it is not going to help it. The government needs to get out of the way and allow churches and nonprofits to deal with this problem because government can't do it.
Okay. I agree. I think this is a problem of liberal capitalism, 100%. And I also agree with everything that Larry just said. I think the solution is to decommoditize housing as best as possible through a series of different programs. Rent control was something that was put forward, and unfortunately, private interests were so powerful that BlackRock, for example, spent, I believe, upwards of $14 million or $75 million in just lobbying and marketing efforts to make sure that rent control that did not happen in the state of California. They're not in California, they just own a bunch of houses. There are 100,000 empty homes in the San Francisco metro area alone. And there are, what, 59,000 homeless people? It doesn't seem like, I know what the solution to this problem is. I think we all know what the solution to the problem is, and yet we can't grasp our mind. We can't just say it.
What's the solution?
Giving homeless people houses. It sounds ridiculous, but there are empty houses and people dying in the streets. What's more important? Making sure that the property values are as high as possible, or making sure that our fellow Americans, young children who are going to college right now, trying to better themselves and trying to build a better future for America, living in their cars, living on the streets. What's more important?
Rent control and policies like that create a disincentive on the part of contractors to build housing. So if you really understood,
no, that's precisely what I mean.
If you really understood the problem, you'd be opposing rent control, not advocating.
I don't think rent control is a perfect solution. I think rent control is a Band-Aid, but it's a solution in the right direction.
No, it's not.
Because what did I say? I said decommoditizing housing is the main goal. Building public housing, building affordable housing in the short term with rent control, making it as unaffordable as possible on the landlords to own private properties so that housing, which I would regard as an inelastic, I would regard as having inelastic demand, which is a necessity for people to survive, shelter, right? Very important. Should be dealt with appropriately. But I also feel the same way about healthcare as well.
So you want government to displace private contractors?
Oh, absolutely.
Wow.
Absolutely. I think private contractors demonstrably are failing right now. We are seeing this. We're talking about homelessness. Why do you think this problem exists in California? It's affordability. People can't buy houses. And you're right about the mental health issue as well. Again, another thing where our government is failing us.
Larry, your defense for private contractors.
Well, if Hasan believes the problem with homelessness is because we don't have more rent control, I don't know what planet he's living on. New York has had rent control for a very long period of time. It destroyed their housing stock that they had before the Second World War.
It's not just rent control, Larry. Don't focus on that.
And the idea that I, as a contractor, should be barred from charging fair market value for my rent will create a disincentive for me to build more housing. And single-room occupancy also has been pretty much regulated out here in California. We ought to rethink that. So we ought to unleash the private sector, not constrain the private sector, as Hasan wants to do.
Here's what happens when you unleash the private sector. Sorry to cut you off. Airbnb, which is absolutely destroying the housing market as well. Because, hey, they're incentivized. That's what happens when you try to fix something with the profit motive. You have a bunch of homeless people, and then Larry sits here and says, why don't we just let the nonprofits take care of it? Well, the nonprofits are not going to take care of it. If we wanted to wait for people to be nice to one another, I don't think we would have gotten into this problem in the first place.
Let's talk about another issue. California passed a budget this week, over $200 billion. Perhaps the most controversial aspect of it was this health care for undocumented people under 26. They'll have access to Medicaid.
You mean illegal aliens?
Or depending on your perspective on what word you choose to use.
Wait, let me ask you. So, you said illegal aliens. Do you not think that they're human? They're human beings, right?
Is there a term called undocumented in the U.S. Title Code?
It doesn't matter. Are they human beings or not? I'm asking you a direct question.
It doesn't matter.
We're having. You want to have a conversation about the legality or whatnot?
Why ask me some stupid question like that? No, they're gerbils. Of course, they're human beings.
Oh, okay. So then that's fine. Then we should give them health care. There we go.
The question is, what should we call them? And the answer is the precise name in the title code for people in the country illegally is illegal alien. Not undocumented. It's not in there.
Why are you trying to back into the legal conversation when we're trying to have a conversation around morality? Obviously, I understand how the law works. The law is also susceptible to changing. Now, let's have a conversation about the morality of whether or not we should be giving these people health care.
Well,
I think
let's ask the question, though, in terms of, because money is not, infinite. So
sure.
Sort of the choice for California taxpayers, when we have so many other problems, including homelessness for so many California residents, is this a good use of California taxpayer money to give it to pay for this?
Yes,
no,
absolutely.
Absolutely not.
Absolutely. I think we should solve the homelessness problem as well, as I demonstrated in a few different ways, and how we can make it a little bit better and mitigate that problem. But we should also absolutely help the people that are here already, that are working in all facets of industry, that are contributing to taxes. I mean, these are just human beings. You can call them undocumented, or you can call them illegal, you can call them whatever you want, but these are human beings that are existing.
A bigger welcome mat for people to come here illegally. In California, already illegal aliens can drive cars legally. In California, an illegal alien can get in-state tuition, which somebody in Wisconsin born here can't get. It's outrageous.
Do you hear yourself, though? Like, you want to bar human beings from driving around?
Well,
just because they were born on another side of an imaginary border? order. That is
Here's the
preposterous to me.
governor's perspective on this, because I asked him that same question, and he says, look, they're here anyways. They're going to the emergency room anyways. It's going to be more expensive to treat them in the emergency room, so we're better off giving them health care so then they can get preventative care. What do you say to that?
The answer is you are creating incentives on the part of people to come here illegally, to come to California and take advantage.
Why not kill them?
And take advantage.
Why not kill them? Why not enslave them and put them in camps then?
Yeah.
I'm serious.
This guy is a piece of cake.
No, this is a serious question. I mean, this is a serious question.
Because I don't use the term
if you want to bar human beings,
are they human beings? Are they human beings?
No.
That's just ridiculous. You talk about straw men. You just did that.
That's a question that I'm directing to you. I'm not making a statement. Here's the difference. Here's what I'm asking
should come to the country
How
legally.
far should we go?
People should come to the country legally.
How far should we go for those who are here already, though? Should we kill them? You said you're fine with not giving them cars. You're fine with barring them from driving. You're fine with barring them from access to health care. How far should we go? Should we put them in little camps?
We should
maybe ship them away?
We should not reward them for coming here illegally.
Okay.
I agree with President Donald Trump.
So how far do you think we should go?
May I answer the question? We should get rid of the bad hombres. Those who have done real serious crimes, they should be gotten rid of. And there are hundreds of thousands of people already that have deportation orders, and we haven't rounded them up and gotten them out. They ought to be gotten out.
Do you think everyone with a deportation order is a bad hombre, or do you think people are just getting deported at a higher rate now because Donald Trump wants to make it seem like he's doing something?
He's prioritized it, and if you walk down the street and you're an illegal alien and you cross the street illegally, you're not being deported. He's talking about bad hombres, and I like the way he's doing it.
All right, we're gonna have to leave it there. Before we go to break, though, we got to give a shout out to the Toronto Raptors and their #1 fan, Drake. And in NBA Finals, they'll be known for their injuries. They came out on top. As Drake would say, it was God's plan. Right? There we go. We have two special podcasts to tell you about this week. I'm sitting down for a special convo with Hasan Piker about growing up in Turkey, finding his progressive voice, and becoming the woke bae. We also have a special one-on-one with Larry Elder talking about his new book, his fascinating, complicated relationship with his dad, and why he is a conservative. You can download all of our past shows in podcast form and lots of digital extras. Just search for The Issue Is wherever you stream. Please subscribe and recommend to friends. Up next, a special word on Father's Day from our panel. Maybe we will find some agreement. This is going to bring everybody together when we come back, just as Drake does, right? Bringing everybody together.
It's a lot of bad things that they wish and they wish and they wish and they wish and they wishing on me.
We're listening to Bruce Springsteen, my dad's favorite artist, as we mark Father's Day weekend. My dad, David, continues to teach me about being a good man. He's kind, supportive, and generous. And as part of that, he watches the show every week. Dad, I love you. Thanks for everything. And happy Father's Day to you. And now our panelists a chance to give a shout out to your dads on this Father's Day weekend. Hasan, let's begin with you.
I don't even know if my dad will ever end up watching this, but if he does, I love you, Dad. Thank you for everything you've done for me. Thank you for working really hard and helping me have a more affluent beginning so that I could educate myself and fight for the rights of people who are less fortunate than myself. Another value that my dad instilled in me.
And Larry, you've written an entire book about your relationship with your dad.
Yeah, the book is called A Lot Like Me because after a 8-hour conversation with my father, not having spoken to him for 10 years, I was 25 years old at the time, I found out at the end of that 8-hour conversation, he is a lot like me. And so if people have not had a good relationship with their father, I'm urging people to reach out. You'll be surprised. He's not the same guy you think he is. He might have evolved. You might have evolved. You both might have evolved. So it's all about this 8-hour conversation I had with the old man.
All right. Well, you don't agree on much, but at least you both love your dad.
That's right.
Right?
Right.
So we'll end on that. And as we say goodbye, one more song from Bruce Springsteen, my dad's favorite, Badland. Happy Father's Day to everybody at home. Again, search for The Issue Is where you stream your podcast. You can hear a lot more with both of these guys and see the full debate between them as well at youtube.com/Elex Michaelson. I'm Elex Michaelson. Have a great weekend. Thanks for watching The Issue Is.